You are the boss. You get the job. So how are you living those great boss qualities? Because it now becomes reflecting. Because oftentimes it's quite easy for us to kind of judge the characteristics or look from someone on the outside without understanding the whole dynamic of what they actually are experiencing, right? And so when we say that we're going to move into this space in leadership, are we carrying those same qualities that we found in admiration, or are we kind of falling into those same footsteps for that boss who made us cringe? So that's just something to think about. So for those qualities you wrote down, great. Just take some time to reflect and think about how are you living those values in your role as a nurse leader. And so here's this. I could get things done if. So we step into these roles, right? And then a lot of challenges come our way, right? And so, but there's always something coming, right? It feels like in the world of healthcare, you know, there's just always changes. It's a constant requirements from one particular organization. There's merging of healthcare hospitals and systems. There's staff turnover. There's always something coming, right? So exactly when you think you kind of got your best team together, just something happens. Someone has a baby, someone gets promoted, someone moves, and your staff changes as well. And then, you know, we have to still function, and we keep waiting for that perfect moment. But the reality is there's never a perfect moment. Probably many of you, when you perhaps even wanted to, like, you know, get married or start a family, and you kind of thought, like, I want to wait to this particular time because this will be, you know, perfect. And sometimes might be better, but they're never these perfect moments. And oftentimes we just have to jump in, and we have to apply our skill of flexibility. And then ability of, like, cloning yourself. Sometimes I wish, you know, that I really could change my name to Adam, you know, and really just have multiple of me being able to do various things. In my work at CDC, I work a lot with drug overdose prevention as well. And so, you know, we're constantly putting out data related to drug overdose deaths and opioids, and we have to respond to, you know, HHS, we have to respond to the White House, we have to respond to healthcare professionals, we have to respond to patients and their families, and there's like always something kind of coming at us constantly that it's sometimes very difficult just to kind of step back and just be able to have a day when you can just kind of really plan. And there aren't any more hours in the day, and that is the reality of it. And so, you know, as much as we wish, you know, that we could really get, you know, another 24 hours added into 24, and many of us, and I'm sure you all as well, are working way over the typical 8-hour day. And so we have to learn then to utilize the time that we have to the best of our ability and to make the most of it. And so sometimes when we bring these things together, position, people, and power, it can be really explosive. And we have to kind of realize, you know, how do we use our power, our position, and our authority actually for good? You know, because when we go into leadership, and I spent many years serving as a military officer as well. I was an Air Force nurse. And, you know, a key thing about being an officer in the military is that you are really there to serve. You really are there to kind of galvanize people together. And again, our main mission is, you know, maintaining wartime readiness. But the thought of that is that you are actually having to connect with people to really tell them to put themselves on the front line, right? And take risks that could end in the ultimate sacrifice is losing your life. And so you have to have a persuasive way to be able to do that. You have to have a way that you can still help that people will believe in you and that what you're saying, and that the key thing that I always would say is that we're really doing things for the mission. And when you don't go in those particular roles with the idea that you're serving someone, you can tend to become self-serving if you are not cognizant and you are not aware of your position, your power, and your influence. And I think probably most of us all the time, we read about, you know, leaders who have taken their position of influence and they've misused it. And the outcomes are they're never good. So we want to be aware of what we have on our position, power, influence. Because when we are entering our role as a nurse leader, as a nurse manager, we have this thing that is still our ego, right? So we know that we have kind of entered this level in our organization. And then there's stories that we kind of tell ourselves about that. You know, our ego is there to feed us, you know, and so we want to be careful of those particular stories. I love the opening ceremony presentation yesterday. I was like, half of that is in my talk tomorrow, but it was really good, and it was a reminder of some very key things that really help us grow, because the tapes that we play over and over and over again in our heads, you know, they don't like me, they don't respect me, you know, no one can do anything right except for me, and you know, when I'm not here, you know, everyone's lazy, you know, this generation of nurses, you know, they don't work as hard as my generation of nurses did. And so that is a tape that can run in your head, and it can be counter to the efforts that you're trying to make, which is what? To build holistic teams, right? And then the thought that we believe everything we think, you know, that is just not the case. Those are just our own thoughts, you know? And so as we move and you challenge our own thinking, and we'll talk about the leadership challenge a little later in the presentation, but it's really important for us to process our thoughts, right? Because we heard about our thoughts and our emotions and our actions, and we know that they are all interrelated as well. And then everything we hear is an opinion, not a fact. Everything we see is a perspective and not a truth, right? And so we all, you know, have a different perspective in life. I like to use when I think of that concept, I think of my family. So my parents, I have 3 siblings, so there's 3 girls, and then I have 1 brother. And so I think of it as parenting, and I think we were all raised in the same household. And for the most part, my parents used the same parenting style, you know, but we all took from that something a little different. You know, I was thought to be the more sensitive one. I kind of was always feeling and would get emotional, would cry at movies, would be like, don't do that, please. You know, that was me. That's my personality, right? I'm a connector, if you will. And then I have a younger sister, same parenting style, you know, nothing fazed her, right? It was you know, whatever, I don't care, you know, I'm still moving forward as well. And then I have a brother who is we called him the class clown, right? He makes a joke out of everything. He makes everybody laugh. He will make everyone kind of feel like they're important in the room. And then my oldest sister, she is kind of more of she was like a mom figure to me, even though we're only really separated by 3 years, but she just held that position. And so when you think of that, right, you think of the style that you take towards your staff as well, and the ability to not use one particular style towards everyone, but the need that you really have to be more flexible. And so when I looked at my parents' style in parenting, I decided, you know what? I'm not going to do that. You know, my kids are 2 different individuals. I felt a little different. And because I was that emotional one, I felt like I needed more hugs. And I didn't get enough hugs, y'all. So I give out a lot of hugs. You know, but that's the realization about that perspective, right? And then our drama queen, right? So in our head, you know, we can create drama in the workplace as well. But the thing about that with our ego is that drama drains, right? You know, so it could be drama all day. It's very taxing emotionally on us as well. And then if you enter into your workplace environment and you bring drama, it will then, you know what drama does? It attracts a crowd. It just attracts a crowd, and everyone starts panicking and everyone starts worrying, and no one believes that anything is possible or capable, because that is the energy that has now been created in that particular workplace as well. And then emotions have us really seeing double. You know, we really don't know what's reality. And so the essential piece of all of this is really, how do we manage ourselves, and how do we create environments in which we can build these holistic teams that are healthy in every sense.